So welcome to another edition of the Weekend Storage Warrior. If you watched my last video, I had a really trashy unit, and when I came home I just stuffed the trash into the back of this truck here, and I'm finally getting around to digging through the last little piles of it. Now, when you're unloading a big ugly unit like that and you're in a hurry, even with 5 days to do it, that was a lot of stuff to pick up and throw away. You start missing things, and here's a case in point. I just opened up this bag and I'm digging through it little by little, opening up the envelopes, etc. And look what I found in here. There's nothing like finding money. So there's $12 that was in the trash out of this last unit, and there's a few more of these bags in here. So I'll be spending an enjoyable morning digging through the things that I had thrown away. Alright, so we went through that tote. I got some hardware out of it, big hinges and hasps, some chemicals, some vintage car parts. So here's a 5-gallon bucket that I had thrown in the trash. Let's see what's in here. One of those. You could sort of call this the second harvest. And if you're not familiar with that term, the Indians in Baja California were one of the most primitive peoples known, and they didn't have clothing, they didn't have any tools, any iron tools, and they were always starving, except for one time each year the Pitayaba cactus would bloom, and they would have sort of a, they would just gorge themselves on the fruit of this cactus. I've never tried it, but it's supposed to be delicious. So for at one time each year they had enough to eat, and then after that was over, they would go back and gather the seeds out of their own dried excrement, and that was called the second harvest. I'm not even going to go there. And a whole bunch of screws. Let's save this, I guess. Big hinge. And anyway, so that was the life that these Indians led. And it's no wonder when the missionaries showed up in the 1600s, that looked like a pretty good deal. You know, they had to have clothing and regular food and agriculture and, you know, modern things for the 1600s. And then, of course, they all became sick from syphilis and European disease, and they all died. Boom. We got some of it on there anyway. And then salvaged one more milk tote out of the second harvest.
Well, and the problem is trying to get the rates up.
That's the Sega stuff that didn't sell on eBay. Like $42 for one of those things. Herzog's Wii. Anyhow, this is just the dregs. Let's see how it goes. It's kind of chilly this morning. Everybody's sort of sluggish, but This is a nice little swap meet. They opened the whole place up, so there's lots of room. I actually have 1.5 spaces here. So does this guy next to me. The other place that I used to go to, they try to squeeze everybody in so there's no open spaces. Like, oh, you know, somebody might get something for free. One of our vendors might get away with 10 square feet of extra pavement parking lot that they didn't pay for. And I don't sell there anymore. Okay, here we are at 11 o'clock. Been here for 5 hours. So I'm just working this stuff. Surprised that ice chest didn't sell. Most of this has already been out here before. There's a couple of things that just haven't been out here before, but anyway, today I sold $120 worth of leftover stuff. It cost $30 to sell here, so we made 90 bucks. It's almost $20 an hour. And just pack up and go home. It went from 41 degrees at 6 o'clock at 6:30, and now it's about 78, 80 degrees. But I think I'll save that for another day. Right now, I think it's about time to wrap this movie up. So, we started that digging through some trash out of that last big unit that I got for $1. Actually found some money and some other things in there. Made 20 bucks out of it. So that's kind of the question, is how carefully do you want to search through a room before you just start throwing the stuff away. If there had been anything in there the size of a handgun, I would have found it. But as far as opening up 500 envelopes, that's sort of a judgment call. It's a time equation. You don't want to be throwing away money, obviously. And then, speaking of throwing things away, I've taken this opportunity to junk some of this stuff. If it's been out there a couple times, it's heavy, it's bulky, and nobody bought it, it gets thrown away. I guess I could search these, but it's all just kind of a balance, really. And anyhow, if you've watched my movies before, you know at the end I like to add up the profit that I've made. In this case, there was no cost to buy the stuff. It was all leftover stuff, so the cost was $40. I sold $120 at the swap meet, and I found $12 in cash for a profit of $92.